Good afternoon, good afternoon.
So we're going to go in order of headshot. There we go. Oh, we figuring it out.
Good afternoon, everyone. Oh, y'all could do better than that. Good afternoon. All right, all right. It's the last panel of the day, so we want to end on a high note. Is that okay? Thank you. So let's welcome our panelists, and I'm just going to ask you all I'm going to tell people who you are, but you can tell them your story. You're of age. You can speak for yourself. So I'm just going to have you introduce yourself that way. So to my immediate left is Rohan. Rohan Brown is the founder and managing director of Innovation Bay. Next to him is Amanda Morrall, who's the CEO and executive director founder of Forward. And then lastly is Mr. CJ Wolfe of Immortal Vision. Let's welcome on to the panel. So Rohan, would you expound on who you are and what you do?
My name is Rohan Brown. I'm the executive director. Got promoted. Now managing director of Innovate Bay. Thank you. It's a startup incubator based in Silicon Valley. We invest in early stage tech companies, anywhere between $20,000 to $30,000. And we're trying to make sure that we remove barriers for those that get overlooked in Silicon Valley so they can participate in the tech space.
Let's see if it's on. Okay, there we go. Hi, everyone. My name is Amanda Morrall. I'm the executive director of Founder Forward. And I always like to start off about why I do the work that I do, because that's pretty important. So basically, Founder Forward supports entrepreneurs through programming, funding, and training. And we're a community of founders. And the reason I deeply care about building a community of founders goes back to my grandmother. My grandmother was the one that built community within her community. She was the person that you could walk into her house, sit at her kitchen table, make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and just have a conversation. And the great part about what she was doing was that it didn't matter who you were, whether you were a family member or even a friend. The reality of it was you were welcome. You felt loved, you felt heard, you felt seen. And she did this on a weekday, she did this during Christmas, she did this during Thanksgiving. And so I got a front row to see what it meant to build community, to build a table for people. And so that's been a through line of my work throughout my entire career. Excited to be here. Thank you.
Hey everybody, my name is CJ Wolfe. Similar to these amazing panelists that's next to me, it was all about community for me. I'm the founder of Immortal Vision Studio. I started shooting photography in my dorm room as a student athlete, and when I came back to Philadelphia after graduating, I realized it wasn't a lot of safe, accessible, and affordable photography studio spaces that we can come together, produce work, and work for top brands such as Nike, Foot Locker, etc. So I created that, and within our team, we allow individuals, filmmakers, photographers to rent out our space, and then we also producing client work, photography, and videography for a lot of dope brands in Philadelphia and beyond. So we'll get into the panel, but it's all about community for me, not allowing individuals going to New York or LA to work for an agency, and I wanted to build that table for us here in Philly. So that's what we're doing, that's what we're gonna keep doing.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, CJ. You clap it up for CJ. As CJ said, and I think we heard a constant theme throughout, is that community is about community for all of us. We started Mom Your Business back in 2017 because we saw that Black women were the fastest growing group of entrepreneurs, yet the least funded. And in addition to that, not only were we the least funded, we're also over-mentored. And so we would show up, I's dotted, T's crossed, on our presentations, and then still be told to go get a mentor. And so after hearing so many of those kinds of stories, we started Mom Your Business with one small business accelerator back in 2019. And since 2021, we've helped our founders raise a little over $500,000 in capital to fund and to grow their businesses. And so we've been able to do a lot of connecting. I've worked obviously with CJ. I know Rohan from when I first got started, and I actually actually am an alumni of Founder Forward. So we've, have a connection to each one of these folks on the stage in some kind of way. So we have a theme, a couple of theme questions that we want to talk about. Theme, the moment, the reality check, the access question, and then the advice. And so we're going to start with the moment. Many entrepreneurs start their journey because the traditional path just isn't working. Was there a specific moment when you realized the 9 to 5 wasn't going to be the solution to your life or professional goals? Anyone?
Okay. Well, technically, I'm in a 9 to 5 right now, so let's start there, right? But I will say I have my own LLC, so I can talk a little bit about that. And so I think the one thing that people have to think about is there is somebody in your life, whether it be a parent or whether it be your best friend, that has probably told you that you need to start a business because they see something in you. They see the work that you're doing. They're really proud of you. And so I think that's probably a moment that resonates with so many people. So for example, my mother told me, I can remember driving down the highway. I used to live in Tulsa, Oklahoma, so I'm driving down the highway, clear blue sky, clouds, and my mom's on the phone telling me, Amanda, you keep talking about that you have all these great ideas. You keep talking about that you're kind of frustrated in the role that you're in. Why don't you start your own business? And the first thing I said was, Mom, I don't think I can do that. Like, I don't have the experience. I don't know what I'm doing. What business would I start? And she was saying, you can start something. You clearly have something in you that you need to share with other people, so why not start something? I think my mom probably told me that for a couple of years, and I did not start my LLC until 2024. So all of that to say is that everybody has that moment, and there's probably somebody in your life that is pointing you to that moment and really telling you, you need to seriously consider this.
My story is a little bit different than that. So a little backstory real quick is when I was a student athlete, all I knew was basketball, especially growing up here in Philadelphia. All I knew was basketball. Even when I tried to do anything creatively or in the fashion world, it was like, hey, you play basketball, you popular in basketball, like stay with that. But I always found myself wanting to be creative, and I just fell victim to my environment in that growing up in the inner city. And when I was in my college dorm room, my friend come from a total different background than me. She had a camera in there, and I'm like, this is a $300 camera, like, you're rich, like, this is expensive. And I just told her, I said, hey, let me borrow this camera and take photos of my friends that's graduating. Because I played on the basketball team. I was a sophomore, and we had like 7 seniors. So I was just like, cool, this was my little business plan. Cash at me. I'll photograph 7 of my seniors for their grad photos, and I'll go from there. That's when I found my passion into entrepreneurship, because I realized I never got paid from it, but I love what I was doing and learning from YouTube and learning how to get better with my lighting, my camera, and everything from there. And when I told my mom, like, after I graduated, I didn't work for like 3 months, and I wasn't even looking for a job. I just was doing freelance photography and, getting my work out there. And she was like, you need to get a job. Like, taking photos, you're not going to get paid. And this is pre-pandemic, so I seen where social media was going, on how important like content was and everything. And me and my mom relationship is better now, but at that time she just didn't understand. And I think for a lot of entrepreneurs, we may have access to a lot of things, or we may see it, and that's why you can believe it. And I seen photographers being successful and getting money, but my mom never seen it. So she couldn't tell me the right decisions to make from it. So from that, I just like left on faith. And I think that's the biggest thing for entrepreneurs. It's like, hey, it's going to be easy, or I can just get a few clients. But after your friends support you and your people around your community support you, it's like how you get your other leads, how you get your other clients, how you get more money. And when you're looking to scale, how you take it to the next level. So for me, it was a lot of like just self-learning and really just isolating myself from individuals that wasn't where I was at, coming where I come from, and building from there. So every day I'm still making mistakes. The mistakes look different, of course, than day one, but it's always important just to not have a plan B, but just knowing how to pivot and knowing when to pivot, and that's a skill, and that's something that you learn over time.
Wonderful.
Clap it up. So completely different story for me. So I always had the entrepreneurial bug, even in high school. You know, I was the kid selling boxes of candy outside. I had no problem making $1. But when I used those skills, when I got into college, I played D1 ball at LaSalle University. Got my MBA in finance, and then, you know, all debt-free. I'm gonna throw that out there. I always wanted to get into tech in some type of way, shape, or form. And I used to be in the nightlife space a lot. Used to actually curate a lot of experiences for the students so that they can go to the bars. Being in that space really dawned upon me that there's not a lot of data being collected in the nightlife space. All businesses that operate primarily after 5 p.m., there's still not a lot of data being collected for those businesses. So I decided to start a tech company, was able to raise around 300K. I was doing that from like 2017 until the pandemic happened in 2020, 2021. Had to shelf it, unfortunately. And then got the bug again. Went and started another company. It was around the sports broadcasting space, raised $500,000 around close to 500K, and just kept building. So I've always had the entrepreneurial bug. I always loved tech, always loved problem solving. So I would say that moment, of course, has to be out of passion, but don't jump into it unless you're actually solving a real problem, right? Make sure you are able to identify what that is, do your research, experiment, and then jump into entrepreneurship, because it's not for the faint of the weak. I know you see a lot of stuff on Instagram, traveling, this, that, and the third. There's a lot going on behind that. So I would just say be real diligent about moving into this entrepreneurship space. Thank you.
So Rohan, you know, I want to add to what you said. I just want to move right into the reality check and just ask you, what's the one truth on that note about entrepreneurship that you feel like people don't talk about enough? Because I've beginning, like, you started to lean into that a little bit.
Yeah, so like even the title of this panel, like it's, you know, when a 9 to 5 ain't cutting it, this is 24/7. You don't clock out. So if you're not willing to put in the hours on a day-to-day basis, you don't have the discipline, you don't have the will, you don't have the passion, don't even jump into it. I'm not trying to be morbid or anything, I'm just being real. This is not something that you can turn off when you don't feel like doing it. You got to keep going.
That's an excellent point. It's not something that you can turn off when you don't feel like doing it, because many times, especially as creatives, right, you're up in the wee hours there, you have an ideas and you're thinking about, you know, that next project, that next program, or if you're a founder, like Amanda and I run an organizations, you think about where that next check is going to come from to be able to continue to do the work that we love doing, right? And so, CJ, on that note, again, just adding to what Rohan said about what is it that you think that we don't talk about enough in the entrepreneurship space.
Really quick, I don't mean to cut you off,
Yeah.
but another thing is like, you got to think about this. If you're running a business, there's competition. So while you playing around or you want to hang out with your friends or you on the couch chilling, think about your competition. They're not doing the same thing. Somebody will go and eat your food. You need to make sure you're going out there and doing what you need to do.
CJ?
Yeah, that's real. And I think that's what it is, but like to like go off the part of like he's speaking on like when you're just starting out, maybe I'll go like a little bit deeper of like once you start getting a few sales or everything is legitimized and you find yourself like in it, it's another part of like separation. And when it comes to like marketing or when it comes to like data, as he was talking about, like that's important. And it's just not, okay, can I sell these candles or whatever your product or service is? It's like, okay, how do I take it to the max? Like,
Yeah.
how do I like take it to the moon? And as he's talking about, and he's a former athlete too, so he probably got that, you know, competitive spirit in
Yeah.
him too. But that's a skill as well, and like understanding like how do I take this like to the moon and be the biggest thing I can ever be. And I think that's the part when it comes to scaling. And like my company, we've been around 5 years, and it's a blessing. You know, the first year, every year, you know, we getting up in sales, right? And number and the margins are looking a lot better. But even to myself, I'm thinking, okay, we Philadelphia's most booked studio. Like, okay, we know we're gonna get 100 renewals per month. People renting it out. We know we're gonna work with the top brands here in Philadelphia. We touched the tri-state and stuff like that. Of course, we did Art Basel and Miami. But like, okay, how can I create the same model in about 3 to 4 other cities that surrounded me? And like we in Pennsylvania, but you got like Harrisburg, you got Pittsburgh, you got Allentown. Like we are that in Philadelphia, but like to me, it's like another part of like, all right, how do we touch that in like the entire PA and build it? And that's a skill, and that's no reason why like McDonald's and Wingstops and all them is like have the formula down, but that's a hard skill to figure out. If like, how can you repeat the same thing, rinse and repeat, and continue to give a good product.
Yeah, no, that's good, CJ. I think that's one thing that we don't talk about enough is the multiplication and the duplication of your product or service, and even yourself in some ways. And so, Amanda, on the reality check, entrepreneurship is often positioned as freedom, but it comes with its own pressures, obviously. But what's one truth about entrepreneurship people don't talk about enough? I'm sorry, that's the wrong question. Give me a second. Is entrepreneurship really the great equalizer? That's where I wanted to go. What is it really the great equalizer? And I think Rohan kind of hit on this a little bit. When access to capital, networks, opportunities isn't equal, from your experience, what needs to change so entrepreneurship truly becomes a pathway to economic mobility for everyone?
So can I do a twofer? Can I go like half into the question you just asked?
Do whatever you want
Okay.
to do, sis. This is your panel.
Okay, awesome. So I think one of the things that I would like to share with people is that like passion's only going to take you so far, right? Like you have to want to be a business owner. I think that is a very key like distinguishing factor in this is that you actually have to run a business. Like you can be passionate all day, every day about maybe sports, about like the books that you write, but the reality of it is this is a business. And so you have to treat it as such. And the way that I thought about it is that when I was building my LLC, I had someone that was in the back of my ear saying like, hey, Amanda, you need to do all these things. And I was like, I don't know. That doesn't seem very nice or kind. But you know what is kind? Clarity. And like as you're building out, like whether you're building out your business, building out events, you have to be really clear with people as a business owner. So I just wanted to kind of say that. But I would say like, I think with everything, it can be, right? Like entrepreneurship can be the great equalizer, but do we have a long way to go? Yeah, that's very obvious. And in some ways, given kind of what's happening in the world, we might actually not be making as much progress as we have been making over the last couple of years. That doesn't mean you still shouldn't be an entrepreneur, but that's just kind of the reality that we're facing. I think the biggest thing is that like if you do want it to be the great equalizer, you do want to step into this space, you've got to find a network of supporters. Like you have got to get into a network, like for example, like Founder Forward, where we're going to be able to support you with programming, we're going to be able to support you with training, we're going to be able to give you like, hey, let's start at step 1. We're not asking you to be at step 5 already, where it's like, you know, we're already at your business, you're selling like millions of dollars in product. That's not where we're asking you to be. We really want to break it down. Let's start at step 1. And so you've got to get into a network of people that have this experience, that know what they're doing, and that can mentor you. I think that's like first and foremost. But I'm like, with everything, it can be, but you know, we've got to figure out, like, how do we continue to pump in money into these businesses, how we continue to support each other. I know in the green room, they were having a whole conversation. I wasn't involved. I was working on a grant, but was listening to the whole conversation about community support, right? And thinking about, like, that network is that community support where you're going to be able to get all of these different tidbits and mentorship from people around you that are doing great work already, that are already working on their businesses, already supporting other founders.
Yeah. No, I'm so glad that you said that. And Rohan, being in Silicon Valley, you know, talk about, you know, the work that you're doing and why that network and that support is so important and what that led you to do with Innovation Bay.
Yeah, so everybody's familiar with the tech space to a certain extent. Can I get a raise of hands or something like that? Let me get a feel. All right, cool. So most people of color, less than 3%, actually get funded in the tech space, right? So if you have an idea that's a tech solution that is scalable, that's your percentage, that's your access to capital. So what I do in Silicon Valley is create more access points for those types of entrepreneurs to get the capital, to get the programming, to get the resources. Usually in Silicon Valley, you have to be university affiliated, you gotta be a part of Y Combinator, you have to be a part of Techstars to get access to this space. So we're removing all those barriers. You don't have to be affiliated with the university, you don't have to come from a certain background. If you wanna get this education, we give it for free. Now on top of that, I've been a founder of several different tech startups. You always get over-mentored, underfunded. The programming that we do at the incubator comes with money. I'm not doing any programming if it doesn't come with money. So in any certain aspect, so right now, technically, I am an angel investor. I invest on behalf of the university. So the companies that we've been able to bring in, we have invested around 30 to 20K, depending on how far along they are. So the work that we're doing is very important, because if you are working in the tech space and you want that access, you can come to me and get that access. You don't have to worry about Stanford or Berkeley or anything like that. You can come to the east side of the Bay and get that programming.
Yeah, no, that's excellent, Rohan. Thank you so much for sharing that. CJ, like, you clap it up for Rohan and the work that he's doing out there. It's very important work. CJ, talk about the network and the community that has helped you to grow your business, especially leaning into entrepreneurship, like really fresh out of college.
Yeah, the first thing, like, I always went into all relationships. I knew people just wasn't going to hand me anything. So I know we probably got entrepreneurs in here and things of that sort, but like the importance of really just adding value first before like you expect the community to give you something. So in my eyes, what I did was like, I played basketball, so of course, like my network was basketball players, whether they played D1, they was overseas, worked for Jordan, Nike, etc. So what I would do, I would use my camera for access. And that camera, I would do free photos, or I would send my friend to do some free photos, and maybe I'll just pay him. I'll look at that as an investment, just so we can get inside of the into the environment of that community that I know that could support me. So like within this conference, I mean, this conference like 2 years ago, we helped out, and now I'm sitting on the stage of it because like I thought it was cool, something that was inside my city, and now I was able to add value to that. So the community part, you can't do nothing without it, because they're going to be the people that help you out. They're going to be the people that look out after you and put you on those opportunities. So many times we got, I would say, lucky to get certain jobs, like he was saying, because, you know, my entire team is under the age of 30, and we have of color. So many jobs that we got, people are looking like, how the hell did they get this contract? And it's just off the relationship that I have with individuals that I started with adding value. And I think that's the most important thing. So many people looking at like, why I didn't do this, why I didn't get in there, or it's like, ask yourself, what value did I provide for them to let me in? And that's how I do it.
Yeah, I think it's so important. Clap it up. You can clap it up for CJ. I think it's so important what you're saying, CJ, about adding value, right? Is that's the edge or the advantage that you have when you're a part of a community. You don't come at it alone. You bring your entire community with you, and that shows the value. And we practice that at Mommy Business, I believe, in under-promising and over-delivering. And so that's so important as you're thinking about entrepreneurship and how you're going to navigate it. Now, how you're going to navigate your career goals and moving into those opportunities. Think about, you know, how you can extend the most value. So again, Rohan, Amanda, CJ, if you would clap it up, and let's thank them for this time to share with you all. This has been great. Thank you all so much.